Thank you so much for taking the time to do an interview about the Horrors of the Fairelands, the new Candela book that you guys are going to be doing. Just taking a quick overlook of what's included. It's 8 new pre-written assignments, all bound in that beautiful hardcover. Looks so nice.
Thank you very much.
And then you guys also have in the package a map of the region of the Fairelands, a physical map of New Fair and its districts. And then you also have a GM screen, as well as 50 different art cards that are directly related to the story and everything that you find in those 8 assignments.
That's right.
29 in-world handouts to give to your players. And then also 2 metal props that are also included in the assignments. As they're going through each of the assignments, you can just hand a physical thing to your players, which I think is something that Beadle and Grimm does really well with, just in D&D in general.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate, this has been it was a really cool experience for us, because usually we are taking an adventure that's written by somebody else and then going through it and going, okay, what can we come up with?
Right.
Whereas in this case, because we were creating the stories, we were creating it sort of with that in mind of where can we find moments where we could tell something through a handout rather than just having the DM describe it. And so we were able to sort of invent those moments and integrate them into the story. And I think that's why there's so damn many of them.
Yeah.
Well,
when you're making the story, you can make the handouts.
Exactly.
I love that. That's awesome. Which also brings me to my next point, because you usually do D&D stuff. So then what made you guys think about doing Candela?
I think just creatively, the idea of working in a very different genre, a very different kind of story was really exciting to us. And as I said, we got the opportunity to create the entire book from scratch, which it's an opportunity we haven't gotten with D&D before. And we just felt like we were ready to kind of take that next step into story creation. So we wrote some of them ourselves. I wrote some, John, one of the other founders, wrote some of them, and then we hired some great people to come in from the outside and write for us as well. And it was just a really gratifying creative experience.
That's cool. So then, since Candela Obscura is pretty new, which assignments in there do you think is best for a newer GM that's going to be picking this up for the first time?
So we deliberately put an adventure called Style of Vengeance as the first one, because it's probably the most sort of D&D adjacent sort of story. It's a trip, not to spoil anything, but it's a trip down into Old Fair, which is sort of it's got a bit of a dungeon crawl kind of vibe to it that I think will be very familiar to people who are coming in from other role-playing game systems. And then they get progressively sort of more complex and more different. The last story in here is one called Locked Library, which is sort of a Agatha Christie kind of story of a bunch of people in a mansion, and one of them has committed a murder, and then obviously there's a big supernatural element to it. But I love the story, but it's a very challenging one to run from a DM's perspective, because you have a lot to keep track of. It's a big sandbox. The players can go anywhere they want, in any order they want. So, we tried to order the book in that sort of complexity of, if you're new to this game, if it isn't familiar to you, you're a new GM, that you can kind of run it from front to back if you want to do it that way.
That makes sense. I was actually going to ask, if you made any specifically for D&D, DMs coming into Candela, but it sounds like
I don't think that was our intention going in, but as people who have done a lot of D&D, I think, there was a sort of natural inclination towards those kind of stories.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Are each of these 8 stories one-shots, or is it a complete through-line campaign kind of setting?
It's a great question. So I would say neither, if that's a non-combative way of doing it.
Okay.
There's no through-line. They are all standalone. I wouldn't call them one-shots. They're a little bit too long and complex for that. So they're really designed to probably be 2 sittings, maybe 3.
That's cool.
Yeah, so they're a little bit longer, a little bit more complicated, especially, like I said, as the book goes on. But so much of it depends on how your players end up executing the story and what choices they make. Yeah,
that's cool. I really like that. So then 2 or 3 sittings each. Wow, so that's a lot of content in just that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
What are you most excited for people to take a look at when they pick up Horrors of the Fairelands?
I would say 2 things. The original art in it, I think, is gorgeous. It's
wow.
There's they chose a very specific watercolor style with the original Candela book.
Yeah.
And we hired their artists to do these things, and because we wanted it to all really feel a piece with what they had already done.
Right.
So I'm really excited for people to see that. But then, I'm just excited to have people introduced to this game. I think, like you said, it's new, and I think a lot of people know about it, have maybe read something about it, but haven't dove into it. So I'm hoping that by having some pre-written adventures that are just there and available to you, that it makes the game more accessible. People will try it out and realize that it's got some really exciting mechanics in it that are really different and unique, and will just give you a really cool experience at your game table.
That's cool, because I know Darrington Press had released Candela, which has some sample assignments, but they're very brief. One-page, two-page type of assignments.
Right.
So this is the first major publishing of 8 fully written, fleshed out assignments that aren't just one-shots. They are multiple sittings with awesome props and stuff like that as well. So that's really exciting.
We were really honored that Darrington Press let us do that and kind of play in their sandbox with this.
Yeah.
And we're excited to just bring some fully fleshed out adventures out there that people can run.
Yeah, because that really lowers the bar for people to just jump into Candela, whereas before you would have to read those little short things, come up with all of the missing parts, and then run it for people that don't even know the system. And that's really cool.
Right.
Did you guys have any themes while writing any of these, or were they all kind of separate types of horrors, or a lesson to be learned from any of these, or anything like that?
Yeah, we actually sort of deliberately tried to have each one of them touch on a slightly different sort of story. And I hope that, when people are looking through it, part of the experience they're going to have is to see that, there are a lot of different kinds of stories that you can tell in Candela. It is a very specific genre. It's a very specific setting and time period, but there are a lot of different ways you can go with it. And like I said, we've got this very sort of Agatha Christie murder mystery in there. We've got a dungeon crawl in there. We've got this one very, very cool adventure in a speakeasy, and there's a lot of role playing and character interaction. And so they all have a lot of very different vibes to them. Mm-hmm. And I hope that's part of what people will really enjoy about it.
That's cool. Okay, so Horrors of the Fairelands is currently on sale on your website for pre-order. How long will that sale be lasting?
That's a good question. I don't have a full answer to that. We'll probably keep it going through the pre-order phase. Okay. We really want to be generous with people who are being generous with us, and taking a chance on this thing, getting it a little bit early. Really, as a very small company, that really helps us in determining volumes and the level of interest. Yeah. So we always try to offer sales, in the pre-order process. So.
Cool. Do you guys have an expected release date by any chance? I know that it said that it's going to be 2025. Around February-ish?
Yeah. We're still looking at first quarter of 2025.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then I know that this is also going to be available. When you purchase it, you're obviously going to be getting all the physical copies, but you're also going to be getting digital tools on Demiplane and Drive-Thru-RPG, and then also PDF files. Yep. So then, are these 8 assignments also going to be separately available for purchase on DM's Drive-Thru-RPG?
That's a good question. Not at this time.
Okay.
But you can buy the book individually. If you don't want to buy the whole box set, we do also offer the book as a standalone
So then
item.
Will that come with digital tools as well?
The book does not. No, that's part of the expanded package.
Got it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to talk about? The Horrors of the Fairlands? Anything else that you'd like to say?
No, like I said, I just really hope that people will give it a shot. It's it's always a little bit intimidating to see a whole new rule set that isn't a 5e variant, isn't a D20 set, and go, oh, that's too much work. But it really is very intuitive and very simple. And hopefully with these pre-written adventures, we'll give people the confidence to just jump in and give it a shot.
Yeah.
It's a really unique setting with a lot of really fun rule mechanics and great creatures, great experiences, great role-playing, and I think people will really enjoy it a lot.
Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
You're most welcome.
I'm super excited about this.